Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now as we inch closer to moving, my quest for small obscure Star Wars props continues, mainly because they're easier to pack. But this time, I'm taking a trip to Jakku for a bit of scrap, so let's get into it. The base of this prop consists of two main parts. The upper portion is made from a 31-piece precision screwdriver set like this one, which has been sold in a variety of bargain stores since the early 2000s. And despite all of my research, the set I purchased online is the wrong one. So rather than attempt to purchase another one from overseas, I'm going to use this 10-fin version to create an 8-fin version to make it more screen accurate. Thankfully, this model is relatively straightforward. The screwdriver cap set has a stair-step profile, with the bottom step having a slight taper to it. So I'll start with that bottom step and create a circle with a 57mm diameter. Next, I'll create an offset plane that is 35mm from the ground plane where my first circle lives, and we'll use that offset plane to create another circle, since I can't create a sketch in midair. But this time, the circle will be set to 56mm. With the two circles sketched, I can select them both, and using the loft command, I can create a tapered cylinder. The rest of these steps appear to be the same diameter from top to bottom, so I'll just select the plane, create a circle the next step size, and extrude it to match the measurements of the actual cap. This got repeated 3 more times based on the measurements from the cap, and then I could shift my attention to the fins. To create the 8 fins around the outside of the cap, I'll start with a new sketch, and we'll draw out the shape using the line tool and the measurements from the actual screwdriver set cap piece. This drawing will then get extruded as a new body so that it's not merged with the rest of our model, and I'll set the fin thickness to 2mm. And because these fins also have a taper, I'll select the top and 2 sides, and with the draft function, I'll flare out the bottom of the fin to nearly twice the thickness of the top to match the original. Now of course I can't leave it with this hard edge, so I'll select the corner that I want rounded over, and with the fillet option selected, I can set the circumference of the curve to match the set. With the fin created, flared out at the bottom and corner rounded, I can duplicate it to recreate the 8 fins on the screwdriver set using the circular pattern function. This allows me to select the body to duplicate, in this case it's the fin, as well as the path or center point that the duplicates will be created on, and it will evenly space out the duplicate bodies at the quantities needed. To keep this piece lightweight, I created sketches that were a few millimeters smaller than my initial circles and used them to cut away at each step in the model to hollow it out. This will also allow for additional elements of this prop to fit inside of the cap. The next part of this prop may look familiar, since it's been used on a variety of lightsabers including Darth Maul's and Rey's, but is actually a Burnherd MC10 collet. This part, which can still be found on auction sites, was way outside of my props budget. But years ago I found a model of Rey's lightsaber on Thingiverse that's the exact size I need, and I can import that part into my design. A virtual kitbash of sorts. Next up, I need to create the ring detail from the original prop. So once again, I'll create a circle sketch, and we'll extrude that sketch to create a 4mm ring around the outside of the stepped cap. The final detail on this piece isn't a part of the screwdriver set, or of the Burnherd collet. It's a small fork that protrudes out of the top. We only see about a ½ inch of it, but to give the prop a little extra weight, I'll replicate the entire part. To do this, I imported the photo from the RPF as a canvas, and then created a series of sketches with the rectangle tool to make a profile. Then I could select all of the shapes and revolve them around a center point to make my sketch into a body. The top of the fork was created in a similar way, but instead of revolving it, I'll extrude the shapes symmetrically and mirror them. Then I can round over any edges that need it with the fillet tool. Because I didn't have a measurement for this part, I made a quick scale adjustment to the fork so that it would fit the opening I created at the top of the cap, and then I could export the models and send them to the printer. And here are the parts. As you can see, these are printed in resin, so there's hardly any layer lines and I can get straight to painting. But first I want to check to make sure that this small fork detail actually fits, since tolerances can sometimes be an issue. Just as I suspected, the fork is slightly larger than the opening in the cap, so I grab my drill with a small step-up bit to enlarge the opening. Once the fit was right, I grabbed some CA glue and could permanently install the fork into the cap and eventually the collet base piece. Admittedly, this could have been a single-piece model, since none of these parts are functional, but when possible I like to have my models in multiple parts. This not only gives them a more real-world look, but can also make printing and painting considerably easier, although this prop doesn't benefit from the latter since it will have a uniform finish. With everything glued up, I could move on to paint. As usual with most of these projects, I'm giving the print a coat of primer. This not only minimizes small layer lines, but it's generally good practice to ensure a good bond between the paint and the substrate. This got a single pass of primer and then set out to dry for a few minutes before I could move on to my next layer. Typically, if I'm going for a metallic finish, I'll use a black base layer, but rather than gloss black, I'm going matte, since I don't want a ton of reflectivity. Since this prop is harvested from the hull of an old Star Destroyer, I imagine it being tarnished, maybe even a bit rusty, so a mirror-like shine isn't what I'm after, and this matte paint will help get me there. Once the black paint was dry, it was time to add a protective layer in the form of a satin clear coat. This not only locks in the black, but gives the next few layers of paint a smooth, less grippy surface to move around on, which is good because there's going to be a lot of paint manipulation happening. So having the clear on board will make sure that it's just as easy to remove paint as it was to add it. When the clear coat had dried, it was time to add the metal finish. I'll be using pewter rub and buff and an acid brush for this step because I'm looking for a really inconsistent application. But first I want to make sure that any loose bristles are removed from my brush. Because I want some of the black base layer to show through the metal paste, I decided to use an acid brush, since its bristles are extra firm, and as you work the rub and buff around, the bristles start to spread, which helps to create really organic patterns in the finish, which in the end leaves me with a blotchy and inconsistent texture that would be really hard if not impossible to do with an airbrush or spray paints. To help give an even more irregular finish, I grabbed a rag and some isopropyl alcohol and started to blend and remove some of the rub and buff from areas of the prop. This is a technique I stumbled onto during my Galaxy's Edge door panel build that helped lift some of the metallic finish from areas where my application was a bit stronger than intended. After a few passes with the rubbing alcohol, I gave it a few minutes to dry and then I could move on to weathering. Now I assume that if this were a real capacitor bearing, it would have some kind of grease or oil on it. So I grabbed some acrylic paint and a spray bottle of water and got to dirtying it up. While the application looks heavy, most of this will get wiped away. I'm just trying to get a touch of warmth to resemble a grease-like tint on the cold metal finish. And to further drive home the idea of a greasy old machine part, I grabbed this dark graphite metallic paint that's almost black, and I applied it randomly around the prop before wiping it away. Giving a few different colors in the weathering helps to tell a deeper story about the prop without having to really explain anything. And my hope is that people will see the different tones and finishes and will imagine it being part of a larger machine rather than a few pieces I pulled off my printer. Once all the acrylic paints were dry, I grabbed a silver spray paint and dusted the surface to help bring all of the paint and weathering together. This provided a bit more depth to the finish, but it also lightened the whole piece, which is good because I remembered that the screen-used prop had some staining on it, and now I had a lighter canvas to work with that should allow those stains to really stand out. For the stains, I used some of the same dark charcoal acrylic paint, but this time I smudged and smeared the paint around to give it that touched by a person look. I tried to do this as randomly as possible and in the places where I imagined it would get handled, and then I left it to dry. The last thing I wanted to do to this prop was to add a bit of dirt. I figured it was only right considering this piece was found on Jakku. So I started by applying a bit of hairspray to the prop, which will act as my adhesive for some Fuller's Earth powder that I'll apply with a brush. The Fuller's Earth powder sticks to the hairspray and any excess can be blown off or dusted away with a clean brush, leaving me with a bit of dirt in the recesses where it might accumulate naturally. This is one of those steps where less is more. So after adding in a few small touches, I called it done and this prop was finished.
Now this piece will eventually end up in vintage-style toy packaging like the rest, but for now, it'll be a nice addition to the shelf. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.